A lot of people are worried about layoffs right now. You might be worried about layoffs. It seems like every time I open up my laptop, there's a new handful of companies that are announcing that they're laying off another batch of employees. I posted a video about my own experience with getting laid off, and that generated a lot of discussion. And it's clear that this is a topic that's top of mind right now. So I wanted to give an update and demystify the experience a little bit, because it's this unfortunately big shameful thing to not be working and to be unemployed in this country, and I don't think that it needs to be that way. There's a lot of reasons why someone might choose not to be in a corporate job for a little bit. For me, getting laid off was a huge wake-up call, and that I was deeply unhappy with how I was centering my life around my job and not really giving time for anything else. Over the last few months, I've been able to live out what my life looks like, where I don't have a 9-to-5, but I have all of my basic necessities covered. And this is a question that I've had on my mind for many years. Like, what would I do with my free time if I just had almost unlimited free time? And so that's what I want to talk with you guys about today, is what do you do when you finally have the time that you've always wanted? How do you spend it? Before I get started, for some context, my career has been in data science. I was a data scientist at a FANG company. FANG is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. I had been climbing the ladder at this company. I'd been there for over 5 years, and I've had a career in corporate America for like 8 or 9 years at this point. So I'm not coming into this conversation having like very little experience. I've put in almost a decade of corporate life, and I'm gonna split this video into the good and the bad to make it a little bit easier for you guys to follow along. So what has been good about this time of unemployment and what I think hasn't been so great. This is a somewhat sensitive and taboo topic that I'm sharing to a bunch of people that I don't know online. So if it is helpful for you to hear my thoughts about what it's like to be unemployed and what my layoff journey has been like, please like and subscribe to show some support, and so I know that you like this type of video so I can continue sharing this content with you. Okay, the first thing, and this one is huge for me, is I go to bed at night with zero anxiety, and then I wake up with zero anxiety the next day. When I was working, I was constantly stressed out and my anxiety levels were through the roof. Before I go to bed every night, I would check my phone and look at the calendar for the next day and already be organizing what I'm doing. And I think that's pretty normal for most people to plan ahead a little bit. But if I had a day just stacked with meetings, or I had a big project due, which was pretty much every day, if I'm being real with myself, then I would have so much anxiety, I wouldn't be able to sleep. And then I'd again wake up with so much anxiety, and pretty much the entire day was spent with me thinking about work. Now that I don't have that pressure on me, I don't have to think about it at all. This is something that people have commented to me in the last few months, that I'm just generally a lot happier, a lot less stressed. As a high anxiety person, having a weight that's been on my shoulders for many, many years lifted off of me has just had like insane mental health benefits. I'm just generally a happier person right now. Number 2 is all of the time that I have to travel and go outdoors. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and one of my favorite things about this area is all of the beauty of the surrounding countryside. There's mountains, there's water, there's snow. Yes, there is rain. I think the scenery of this area is just like absolutely stunning and unbeatable, and it's really inspired me to go outside more. It is winter, but I'm still trying to take advantage of this. I did like a solo stay at a cabin in the woods. I did a hike through Mount Baker. I've gotten to travel and spend time with my parents who live a few hours away, which is incredibly important to me. Family is one of my top priorities, and I'm getting to prioritize that right now. I got to spend time with my brother and my sister-in-law in Texas. I have a trip coming up next month where I'm going to basically like tour all of these cities on the East Coast that I want to go see. And I'm planning to do other things. There's a lot on my to-do list, and none of these things would have happened if I was worried about PTO, because when I was working, even if I would put time off in my calendar and take time off, I couldn't really take the time off. I can name so many times where I had PTO and I'd go on vacation and I would still have to work, and I'd still have to like log that PTO too. So It's like a lose-lose situation for me. And now I don't have to worry about that. I have finally the time to check off all of these things that I've wanted to do. The third good thing about this time off has been getting to dive into some creative projects. Even though I come from this highly analytical background in a field that requires a lot of mathematics and statistics and programming, I think at heart I'm a creative person. And I've had all of these ideas of projects that I've wanted to do over the last several years. Every time I've started doing something over the last few years, I haven't been able to follow through with it because I've felt like I left so little room in my life to do the side hobbies and things that I'm interested in. One of the projects that I've wanted to dive into has been this YouTube channel. I started this channel about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, and I had such little time left in my day after work that to get this off the ground was just too time consuming. I'm sure most of you watching have not tried to start a YouTube channel, but it is like a huge project to undertake, and it's something that you have to be really passionate about. And the passion was there, but the time wasn't, unfortunately. Now that I have a lot of time to focus on the things that I'm deeply interested in, I've really been able to dive deeper into this channel, and I've had so much fun doing it. It's forced me to reflect a little bit more and process things like my thoughts on the layoff, because when you're sharing something publicly, it forces you to sit down and write out your thoughts and really think through and process things. I have such big dreams for what I want to do with this channel, and having the time to really give it the attention it deserves has been just really fulfilling. One of my favorite things about getting to make my own schedule and being wherever I want to be, whenever I want to be there, is getting to run errands in the middle of the day. And to be fair, I think a lot of people are working from home, so a lot of people are out and about running errands more than they were a few years ago. But I definitely take advantage of going to do things in the off hours and just checking things off my list that I have had on my list for a long time. For example, I'm finally taking in these cameras to get them developed. These cameras are from my brother's wedding, and I thought it'd be fun to do film photos because they're a little bit more special and it's exciting to see them when they get developed. My brother got married 5 years ago, so this one's been on my to-do list for a while. I guess that's done. The lady at the store seemed incredibly unsure of what to do, so not sure that I'll ever get those back. All right, so now on to the bad. Of course, the first thing that comes to mind when you lose your job is money. When you're not working a full-time job, you're not making a full-time salary. Prior to being unemployed, I really didn't spend too much time thinking deeply about purchases. If I was at Target and I wanted to put like a candle in my cart, I wasn't gonna sit there and debate whether or not the $15 candle was worth my money. I just get the candle. Now, before I spend every dollar, I really weigh whether or not I want it or need it. And this isn't coming from a place of like financial insecurity. I'm still doing fine. I have enough money to support myself. I had prepared for something like this, but I do have to make my dollar stretch further because it might be a while before I take on full-time work. So now if I'm like going out and I decide to get cocktails, I really think about if the $20 cocktail is worth it. I still want to enjoy this time in my life, and so I'm still like spending money because it's just a necessary part of living in the world that we live in. But this has forced a lot of financial organization and really thinking through how to make my dollar stretch further. I think honestly it's been a good exercise for me to sort of reset my perspective on finances and making sure that I'm living well within my means so I can stretch this time out as long as possible. The money thing was something that I was expecting when I lost my job, but one thing that has kind of crept up on me over the last few months is a sense of loneliness and my life path diverging from those around me. During the day, if I'm not tied to a 9-to-5 job like most of my friends are, I have a lot more time to go do things that I want to do. And this means that there's going to be less people around to do them with me. So I've had to do a lot of things alone, and that's been a big step out of my comfort zone for me. I don't want to let this time pass me by and not do the things that I want to do. So I have had a sense of loneliness, I think, in that regard. The other piece of this, the other side of this, is I feel my life diverging from those of my friends around me. What I mean by that is a lot of my conversations with my friends are about how much they dislike their jobs or what's going on in their work life and what they're doing outside of their 9-to-5. I think I've just found myself in a different place in my life than pretty much anyone else that I know around me. And there's just not a lot of people to connect with me who have like this shared experience. Okay. I think my biggest discomfort with this time off is how I'm being perceived. In the United States, when you first meet somebody and introduce yourself, the first question you'll be asked is, what do you do? And having to tell a complete stranger that you've been laid off is incredibly uncomfortable. And I always feel like I have to follow that up with, it's not my fault that I got laid off. And I try and avoid it as much as possible. Like, I'll honestly just say that I'm a data scientist and leave it at that. When people probe deeper, you can't like hide it unless you want to completely lie, and I'd rather not. As somebody who, despite my best efforts, still cares what people think about me, I've found this to be just super uncomfortable to deal with, and I still haven't figured out a good way to approach it yet. I also worry how I'll be perceived by a potential employer. I work in a really competitive field, and there's been a lot of people who have been laid off and thrown into the job market, so you really have to be at the top of your game to get a job. And I'm worried that intentionally taking some time off from corporate life will be a dock against me, and any dock against you in this environment can really set you back. I don't have a great way of how I'll deal with this yet. I'm not intensely interviewing for anything. I plan to continue to take time off through the summer. But when I do go back to work, I will have a large gap in my resume to explain. And I don't think that our work environment really takes kindly to that. So if you have any advice about how to handle this, please let me know in the comments below. In fact, I'd love to know what you would do with your time off if you didn't have to work a 9-to-5. So let me know in the comments below. I read every comment and I respond to most of them if you're not a troll, so we can get a discussion going down there. I want to clarify that I'm in a really fortunate situation and that I don't have to pay a mortgage and I don't have a family to provide for. And I know that that's not the case for everybody, so if you are in that situation, my heart does go out to you. I wanted to make this video because I know there's a lot of anxiety surrounding this topic. There's a lot of shame, and this isn't something that people openly discuss. And if you are somebody that finds yourself in this situation, or you are looking to maybe leave your job for a little bit and step outside of the corporate world, I wanted to provide some perspective of what it's been like for me. Because a few months ago, had I known that this was going to happen, I'd have a lot of anxiety surrounding it. And now, having gone through this experience, I really consider myself fortunate for having this space to really reflect on what I want out of my life. All right, that's everything. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.